Hey guys, so while I have some time, I'm going to tell you about my C-section a little bit more in depth than I did in my labor and deliver video. I'm going to tell you what it's really like to have a C-section and what you can expect if you're going to have one. First of all, I'll start out with saying, for those of you who don't know my story really, my C-section was not elected. It was an emergency type deal. It was a call made by my doctor, basically to ensure my daughter's survival. So we'll start out talking about preparation for C-section. What they will do to prep you for the C-section is the nurses will come in. If you don't have an IV started, they will go ahead and start that. They may have you on water solution dripping in to keep you from getting dehydrated. Who knows, because you can't even have anything to drink, you can't even have water, you can have ice chips, but even once they decide to give you the C-section, your ice chip supply is cut off. You have nothing. So they might start you on IV with some fluids just to keep you hydrated. They will come in and they will shave you. They will not shave all of your pubic region. They will just shave probably 1 to 2 inches, along down your abdomen. I don't know what you'd call that area really. They'll just, they won't shave all of you, but they'll shave off some of your pubic hair, just to clean you up and get you ready for the surgery. And they'll swab you down with alcohol. And other than that, if you have not signed the consent papers and stuff, you will sign those. Most of the time, though, you do that at your pre-admission visit. And if gonna handle myself. So if you haven't had your pre-admission visit yet, and you go in and you end up having a C-section, then you'll probably have to sign the consent forms right then and there. In my case, the hospital where I delivered, I'm not sure if it's like this everywhere. I would say the policy is probably quite similar. There was only one person allowed back with me, and naturally I brought back my boyfriend Sam, her father, with me for the surgery. So they will come in and they will bring your partner, your mom, your friend, whoever you're going to take back there with you when you have the C-section done. They will bring in like these paper scrubs for them to put on, and it's like full head to toe. They look ridiculous. And they put on booties, and they put on a little hat, and they put on a hat on you, and they give your partner a mask, and then they will wheel you back to the operating room. Where I delivered in the hospital, the C-section area was separate from the maternity ward. It was inside the maternity ward, but it was a whole nother area. You went through these double doors, and then you were going down this long, dark, scary hallway. To be honest, it was quite frightening. And then you come to like this big open area, and the open area is a recovery section for the first hour or so after the surgery, and then there's 2 swinging doors to the right, and that is the operating room. So they will take you back in the operating room. If you already had a epidural, then they'll keep pumping that. If you haven't had any type of numbing thing, what they'll probably do is give you a spinal, and they'll bring down the anesthesiologist to do that. With the spinal, what they did was the anesthesiologist came down, and she had her assistant with her, and they took me and had me sit up on the bed. They already had me on the bed, the table where they would operate, but they had me sit up on that table or bed, whatever you want to say. And they put a chair in front of me, and I put my feet in the chair, and they had me bend over and take deep breaths, and they put 2 rounds of a general anesthetic in my back to numb the section where they would insert the bigger needle to do the spinal, and they waited until I was completely numb, and then they take and they put this big long needle in your back. And I only know that it's big just because I was stupid enough to want to look back and see what they were gonna stick in me before they did it. But it's not that frightening. It's not really painful. Like, I could feel the needle pushing into my back, and I could feel the pressure from that, and then I could feel the medicine being injected through the needle, and it was just really cold. It did not hurt whatsoever. It just felt like ice water rushing up and down my spine. And so then they have me sit there for just a few seconds, and by then that medication was already taking effect. My legs were feeling really super heavy. I couldn't lift them out of the chair. They had to help me lift them. And by the time they got me laid back down, I was already feeling it, like, majorly. I could not lift my legs, my whole arms, my legs, my feet, everything was feeling really super heavy. I'm starting to feel kind of tingly and weird. No pain, didn't hurt. The only thing that really was causing me any discomfort was the fact that I was starting to feel really super nauseous. So the anesthesiologist assistant gives me a round of some drugs, I don't even know what it was, through my IV to help me with the nausea, because I seriously felt like I was going to puke. And meanwhile, the doctors and nurses are pinching me and poking at my legs, saying, "You feel that? Do you feel that? Do you feel that?" And they're trying to make sure that I'm completely numb before they start cutting. And at that point, they bring Sam into the room. Sam had to wait outside while they were administering the spinal to me. But they bring him into the room, and he sits beside me. They've got the big blue sheet up. You can't see anything. And my doctor comes in there, and he tells me, "Well, let's get to it." So, cutting me open. I had someone ask me, what did that feel like? And it's so hard to describe that, because I honestly could not tell what he was doing. I couldn't tell you exactly at what point he was cutting me open and what point he was taking the baby out of me. There's no difference in the feeling. It's just a bunch of pressure. I do know this, that when he was working to get at the baby, because what they do is they cut you open and then they start ripping and tearing and pulling to get to the baby, just because I guess that is less damaging somehow to the muscles and the nerves, is what I got told, versus actually cutting into them. So during that point, it's a lot of pressure and it's a lot of tugging sensations, and it kind of feels like there's a rope inside of you and it's attached to your lungs, and somebody is jerking on that rope and they're trying to pull your lungs out, in ways, is what it was like. I admit that I felt like it hurt, but I don't think I really felt pain. I think my brain was just telling me that it should hurt, so therefore I felt it, if that makes any sense. And I felt really super sick. Once again, the nausea was hitting big time. It was terrible. They keep having to pump me full of drugs just to deal with the nausea part of it. So they had me cut open maybe about 15-20 minutes, and I hear the baby crying. So it does not take them long at all, as long as there's no problems, to cut you open and to get the baby out. What takes the longest is when they're working on putting you back together and sewing or stapling you back up. That took longer than anything. It felt like it was an eternity laying there and feeling the pressure and the tugging while he's putting my organs back in place and getting ready to staple me back up. And it's really odd at that point too, because my doctor didn't really talk to me. He was talking to his staff, and they were all talking about their weekend and how, what they did, and then one guy was talking about going on vacation. So it was really surreal laying there and thinking, hey, I'm cut open and my organs are all mixed up, and my doctor is talking about going on vacation to the Bahamas. That's comforting. But, it's no big deal. So then the recovery part right after you have the C-section is, with me, the hospital where I delivered, their policy was they watch you for an hour as long as everything is looking good after an hour, no severe bleeding, nothing like that, then they will take you back to your room, whatever type of room you have, and they will settle you back in there permanently. So, I was in there a little bit more than an hour, and I couldn't exactly tell you why. I couldn't really see the incision or nothing like that. I didn't actually see my incision until I was over 24 hours after the surgery, when, like, the first time that I got up to go to the bathroom. Oh, bathroom, that's one thing I forgot to tell you guys. They waited with me. They did not put a catheter in me until I was already numb, so I didn't feel any of the catheter or anything like that. No issues there. I don't know what every other hospital's policy is, so they might wait. They might do it before. I reckon they could even put the catheter, run that when they're starting an IV in you to prep you for surgery. I'm not sure. But basically, your first hour after you have a C-section is the medication wearing off that was numbing you, and it's really super painful. When you start getting feeling back, it is painful. I'm not going to lie. It is going to hurt. I cried. It felt like my inside was on fire. It's not so much that it was aching or anything like that, but it burned. It burned bad. I felt like I had a fire burning inside my stomach, and that it was just going to, the flames would like swallow up my whole body and I would just combust. It was so terrible for the first hour. Now, later on, the first week or so after having the C-section was very difficult. Moving around was hard. I was pretty much laid up. I was in a lot of pain. I didn't really have the physical strength to get up and to do things. I had to have a lot of help from Sam with taking care of Abrielle and just taking care of myself in general. There were quite a few times that Sam had to help me in the bathroom, or I had to have assistance taking a shower, just because I couldn't hold myself up, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that, I couldn't get up, I couldn't move, couldn't bend, yada yada. So that's that. But that should be expected. C-sections, people make them out to be no big deal, but what you really need to know about a C-section is that it is major surgery. And you should treat it like that. And you should treat yourself like you have had major surgery when you're in recovery and when you're in the hospital still and when you go home from the hospital for the first couple of weeks, because it is very rough, it's very tiring, it's very painful. They sent me home with a prescription for Percocet, and better believe I was definitely taking that Percocet when I was home. Didn't really want to be, but I was, just because the pain was so intense from the incision. Now, 3 weeks postpartum, not really any pain. My incision is, it looks amazing compared to the first time I looked at it. The first time I saw my incision, I wanted to cry. It had a ton of staples. It looked nasty. It was just so scary to see it. But now, it doesn't really bother me. It's just becoming a thin line on my abdomen. So, summed up for you guys, that's really what it feels like to have a C-section, and that's my C-section more in detail versus my labor and delivery story. Would I recommend someone to elect to have a C-section? That is your personal opinion. That is your personal decision. What you think about that. I would not elect to have a C-section on my own. I wouldn't want to do another one unless I actually, I had to, and it was recommended by my doctor, or it was an emergency situation. I would personally, my next child, I would like to try to do a vaginal birth if I am allowed, if I can find a doctor who will do it, if there are no complications, if I don't have the issues that I had with my pregnancy with Abrielle. It just all depends. Are C-sections as bad as everyone says they are? In my case, for myself personally, I do not think so. I think that it's a wonderful medical intervention, and I think, when it's necessary, it's necessary. It's great. It's all good. The most important thing is that you're alive and your baby is alive. That's what's important. And that is a more detailed version of what my C-section was like and what it really feels like to have one. Some videos you guys can expect to be seeing pretty soon are some product reviews on things like diapers, wipes, bottles, clothes, etc. I'm also going to be doing a life update here pretty soon about some pretty important things going on in our family's lives now. And I'm also going to be doing a video about what it's like to have a newborn and kind of give you all a little glimpse of what my life is like now as a teen mom. But that is it for now, you guys. Thank you for watching. Bye.